This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. Check out their Next Gen Manufacturing Summit, October 15th through 17th, Liz, in Rochester Hills, Michigan. There's going to be industry speakers, breakouts, networking, and more. And you can learn more at nextgenmfg.org. And Liz, we are so psyched to welcome our friends at Edia.
I know, this is a new sponsor, and this platform is awesome.
Yeah, so Edia is the AI platform to improve K-12 outcomes. You can learn more at edia.app, and we will learn more about them during the show. You can, by the way, always see the sponsors on the Skills 21 podcast page, which is skills21.org/podcast. Liz, you might remember a while ago we did an episode called Career Dreaming with Liz. Do you remember that?
I do. It was a while ago.
It was a while ago. Do you remember what career? A lot of it is like, oh, you should do what you're doing because you're so damn good at it. But there were a few outliers. Do you remember, sort of unusual? There was like a movie and TV production, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think there was.
Do you remember anything else?
No. Do you? But
well,
you probably
given how
do.
young you are, it's funny they don't remember that. But okay.
Because I'm so happy with this career. I'm not looking for other ones right now.
Perfect. Jonathan's happy to hear that. So what was interesting is that, you went into it was a generative AI feature from Google. You told it about yourself. It got to know you. It gave you career advice, blah, blah, blah. But you couldn't visualize it, right? We couldn't see what would Liz look like in other careers. So now
I'm so nervous.
Google released maybe a week ago a thing called Nano Banana on the LM Arena board, where they secretly put these things up before they go out to the world. They give them code names. So Google named this new image tool Nano Banana. And one of the things, Nano Banana does a lot of neat stuff. It helps kind of catch up to ChatGPT in terms of getting fidelity of text next to images. But actually, in a lot of places, it surpasses that pretty significantly. And one of the things that it does really, really well is create visuals, right?
Okay.
So you may not have seen this, but if you scroll down in the episode 74, wow. Yeah, the episode 74 doc, you and I took a picture at Cannon Beach by Haystack Rock in Oregon. And so I took up that picture of you, and you have your cool aviator shades on, your mirrored shades. And I said, hey, can you turn Liz into a matador? Right?
I don't think that was on the career list.
Oh, no, I gave you 3 new careers that did not exist. But I wanted to visualize what it looked like, right? How good do you look?
I mean, I look awesome as a matador.
Now, I wasn't sure about the picture because of the whole Haystack Rock thing. So I just took a screenshot of us in the podcast studio, and you scroll down. Andre, these are all in this episode 74 doc. You can throw any that you feel like into the Spotify and YouTube because they are all freaking delightful. But it kept your headphones.
So here I'm actually now in an arena.
Yes.
So it looks a little more realistic, except that I'm wearing headphones.
Yes, it's great. I don't think if you were bullfighting, I think you would take the headphones off. So if you scroll down just a little bit more, Liz, I asked it to take the headphones off. So
okay. It did a good job.
This is a core feature in Nano Banana, which is really just Gemini 2.5 Flash images, where you can take somebody and it keeps fidelity of the character. That didn't really happen in the ChatGPT image tool. I'm sure it will. These guys are just in a horse race together, right? And so on and on it went. Now, let's scroll down. Hang on. Just hold on the crossing guard and the excavation. I want you to go down to we'll drop this story into the show notes from Google specifically, because Google put up this really nice how to do it. And those first few, I didn't really give it much prompting, but they go through when you really want to kill it with Nano Banana. There's a phrase I use a lot in life. It says do a number of things. So be clear about the subject is number 1. Be clear about the compositions. How is it framed? Be clear about the action, what's happening. So, I went through this with you. Liz is holding a cape in one hand, position, a confident stance. Be clear about the location. You're in a sunlit Spanish bullfighting arena with blurred cheering spectators in the background. Be clear about the style and editing instructions. And so you'll notice, in the first one, when you're in front of Haystack Rock, whatever. But it got much better as we followed Google's instructions.
No, can you tell our listeners one more time how to get there?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So this is in Gemini, right? So this is the Google's large language model. And actually the easiest way to get that, because most everybody has got a Gmail account or a school account. So from what I affectionately refer to as the waffle, right, which is that whole grid of applications on the top right-hand corner of your screen. If you're in Docs or Drive or Gmail, you'll see Gemini. More than likely, if you don't, talk to your IT director. If they tell you to go away, call us. We'll talk to your IT director. And then I was a tech director. It's like peer-to-peer. Okay. Camera, eye roll, perfect. So that's how you get to Gemini.
So I'm at Gemini.
You have two options. You can either just say create an image of, or you'll see actually a little image button that they've added, which I think honestly just like clutters up the user interface. You may not have it in yours. I had it in mine.
Create images. So in that tools drop down where you can find guided learning and deep research, there's the create images.
Right.
one.
But if you just drag in a picture of yourself and say, hey, turn me into a bullfighter, it will. Make an image of or create an image of. Just like the storybook feature that we talked about, which we're going to talk about again today. There's a gem for storybooks, but if you just follow the prompt, make a 10-page storybook about X in manga style. I love saying manga. It will take care of that.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks for that question. Now, Liz, one more important thing before we start the formal part of the episode. I saw this headline from the middle of August. A couple of these stories are a little dated, right? Because I was out for a week. You did a killer interview with Charlie Hughes. I'm so sad I wasn't there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so some of these stories I've been kind of collecting for a little while. But the godfather of AI, who is Geoffrey Hinton, this fascinating character, he is now retired from Google DeepMind, but literally deserves that title. Was on CNN. I think this came up through an interview he was doing with Anderson Cooper, who I believe actually has a second house here in Litchfield, if I'm right. Am I right?
I don't know. I would love to see Anderson on the street.
Kittles will tell me whether or not that's accurate, but I'm pretty sure it is. All right, so Liz, tell us about this. Jeff Hinton has a very specific strategy about how we can make sure that AI is safe for all of us.
Yeah, so he warns that attempts to make AI submissive to humans won't work as superintelligent systems start outsmarting us. And so he says that we should design AI with maternal instincts in mind so that they care for humans.
What do you think of that as a mother?
I mean, I don't have the most maternal instincts.
You don't? Really?
I mean, maybe Adam's maternal instincts would be better.
All right, so Fei-Fei Li, who is the godmother of AI, I don't know why we have to do this, you poor people, but Fei-Fei Li is a fascinating character. You know what Fei-Fei Li is working on, Liz?
No.
World models.
Oh, okay.
3D immersive world models. All right, so Fei-Fei Li disagrees. She's advocating instead for human-centered AI that preserves dignity and agency. And folks have warned that the current models are already showing manipulative behavior, which they are. Hinton now believes that AGI could arrive within 5 to 20 years, not 30 to 50. And generally, he's kind of waving the red flag. To your point about Adam, you don't have to be a mom to have maternal instincts. You can be a dad and have maternal instincts as well.
Can we just call them parental instincts?
Sure. Yeah. So we're going to talk about some troubling stuff with AI this episode. But Sam Altman's colleagues are glad that he's a dad now because they think that raising a child will help him make better decisions for humanity. This is Sam Altman, the co-founder of OpenAI. This is from Business Insider, Dave Smith, August 2025. OpenAI's Sam Altman recently became a father, which is, I think his kid's almost, maybe 6 months now. His colleagues believe that parenthood may help him make more grounded long-term decisions, particularly shaping AI's future. The story highlights how raising a child might give tech leaders a deeper sense of responsibility and empathy, especially as they steer technologies with broad societal impact. It's a humanizing moment. Let's see, I'm thinking about my parenthood. Would it make me make better decisions? Coin toss.
I mean, I think what we learned a few years ago is that all of these huge tech leaders and social media people were like, and I don't let my children have phones because I know how bad it is.
I'm
so
sending
maybe
them to
Sam Altman will find the same thing. I run the AI world, but my kid's never allowed to touch it because I know how bad it is.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, with that, I'm a father named Matt Mervis.
And I'm a mother named Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, the AI and Education podcast. In today's episode, Kids, Bots, and Badly Broken Guardrails, How AI Labs Are Failing. We'll explore the unbelievable risks that AI companies are creating for young people and adults. And we'll underscore this is really not all, right? It's this is a big, broad brush. We talk about and work with lots of wonderful AI and education companies that have very strict guardrails. But certainly the big labs are causing some chaos, and we try to capture a lot of it in this episode.
But first, we'll get you caught up with a busy late summer rundown. Next, we will examine a new study from Stanford University regarding entry-level job loss and what it means for the skills that kids in their 20s need today. Then we will go beneath the surface and unpack a fire hose of stories that point to real work that AI labs and large technology companies must undertake to improve safety for all of us. And finally, we'll end with another bright bite, which we are clearly going to need.
We are clearly going to need. There's no doubt. All right, Liz, let's just jump right in. This couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, Louis von Ahn. You'll remember Louis was the guy that said that schools will become babysitting centers and we won't need teachers. A week after he'd said to the world that he was going to be an AI company and fired a lot of people, and then a lot of people fired him.
Yeah.
Remember, people had like 4,000 streaks on their Duolingo.
So this was the CEO of Duolingo,
yes.
Right? Yes, we did.
Whose name I just love saying.
Yes. So,
all right, tell us what's going on. This is from the keyword blog. Google is disrupting.
Yeah. So Google Translate is launching 2 major AI-powered updates. So one is real-time live conversation translation in over 70 languages, which has enhanced speech recognition for noisy environments. So that's going to be huge for translation. And then they're also launching a personalized language learning tool that adapts to users' skill levels and goals, starting with English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. And so both features use Google's Gemini AI models and are rolling out this week on Android and iOS.
Fortune magazine, a couple days ago, August 27th, titled Duolingo is facing an existential crisis as Google Translate rolls out features to tutor users and even handle live translation as a bonus. And so Google's AI-powered translate features is a direct competitive threat to Duolingo, causing a temporary 3% drop in the Duolingo's stock. What else we got?
Yeah, but our friend Louis von Ahn, the CEO, said he kind of downplayed the threat because he believes that the gamified learning of Duolingo is the key differentiator. So he says that the strength lies in user engagement and retention, not just the AI capabilities. So
interesting. He might be right. I imagine Google wouldn't have the resources to gamify the tutoring function as a feature. Yeah, that'd probably be really tough for them. Sorry.
The sarcasm this morning.
It was that whole, we're going to turn schools into babysitters with AI bots that really, I'm not letting that go.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because it's just wrong for one thing, right? The more you and I work with this in schools, the clearer it is that the skills that kids are going to need are about empathy, human connection, collaboration, problem solving, creativity, working with bots in creative ways.
And it's what we hear from kids. Kids are like, I don't want to be taught by a robot. Kids all value their teachers.
Hello, 2-hour learning. Okay, moving on. So the other interesting thing here is that Duolingo has 130 million users, but only 10% are paying customers. So it's a target-rich environment here. And so Apple's also entering this space with live AI translation in iMessage and Siri. Yeah, that should work great. No problem there. Ooh, the sarcasm is rich. Listen, there's lots of other googly updates this week and over the last couple of weeks, but they're interesting, right? So they did a bunch of stuff in Vids, which is a tool we've never really talked about, and we don't cover a lot, but I'm quite certain it's going to be in the fall micro-credential. So there's a whole Hey Gen, and we love Hey Gen. That's been a tool that we use a lot where you can turn yourself into an avatar and it can talk, and it's a really interesting AI multimedia feature. So Vids now has a Hey Gen competitor. So Google's just boo, 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 taking out the competition. Podcast is coming into docs. So you got a big doc, you can turn it into podcast.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Right now it can read your docs, though.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. You went looking, huh?
I work.
I work. Deep research. I love this one. So my most common, if you go look at my Notebook LM, 50% of them are deep research documents that I created in deep research and then didn't have the attention span to read all 40 pages, pulled in a notebook and started querying, right?
Okay.
And turned into a podcast. So that's a really regular workflow for me. So now Notebook LM will just have deep research built into it. And there's also a new rumor, Tutor Mode, which I imagine will be like guided learning in Notebook LM.
Okay.
Yeah. You still a big Notebook LM fan?
I am. I mean, like you said, we were out a lot the last 2 weeks, and Notebook LM is one of the things that I show every school that I'm working with. And just the ability, I mean, it just keeps getting better and better as far as like it's in a walled garden. That's something teachers really like is like if they put their docs in,
Yep.
it's only going to pull from there. I mean, the podcast feature is amazing. The study guide feature is fantastic that you can, talk to it and
Generally won't hallucinate.
right.
We have a colleague, Dave Tanner, who is at EO Smith, and I know he's like deep into the Canvas LMS, and the Canvas notebook integration is coming now. So
Okay.
it's not just going to be in Google Classroom where teachers can pull notebooks in. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. You also have been a big fan of Storybook. And so this is not really an update to Storybook, but it's an interesting take because very often we're with a K-12 audience, and I don't want them to think like this is just for the little ones.
Right. So this is interesting because it is for the older ones. So it's very easy to create a storybook if you want to use it for your little ones because it creates like a 10 to 25 page illustrated, narrated story from text or images or PDFs. But it could also be used to make like visual pitch decks and concept art. So it's a little finicky right now because it's kind of hard to export to PDF. Although if you go to print it and print as PDF, it does it.
Yep.
I've gotten frustrated because I can't edit the text and the character consistency is a little funky. Yep. But filmmakers are experimenting with it for lookbooks and storyboarding and animation. So, like those limitations right now are still making it like proof of concept, but it's going to be really cool to like storyboard your movie so brilliantly as a storybook.
Yeah, and we work with tons of media teachers, right? So if you're teaching a film and media class, I think the outlining, storyboarding stuff can show up really interesting ways in all sorts of English language arts classes. So yeah, don't think it's just like for the little ones.
Right.
I've worked with foreign language instructors who are creating like, more mature theme style books in foreign language, and it has the audio narration built into it as well. So that's pretty neat. And that is, we'll put that in the show notes. That is from the source called No Film School, which seems like a fun publication. All right. Anthropic. Interestingly, Anthropic releases an education report last week, August 26th, how educators use Claude. Both Anthropic, which makes Claude, and OpenAI, ChatGPT have done a pretty good job going through their gabillions of chats to do analyses. Like it's a really rich, like as a data person yourself and a researcher, because I believe you are the director of research and innovation here at Advance.
I am.
I mean, we've done it even with Sidekick, right? It is a rich target because you have all these chats. So they went and looked at 74,000 Claude AI conversations by mostly, I think, high school, but it seems like quite a few university educators to figure out how they were using these tools. This is from the Anthropic blog. So Liz, walk us through that. What were the use cases?
The top use case was curriculum development. So 57% of users were doing curriculum development. That's a lot of people. Academic research was 13%, and assessing student performance was only 7%, which I kind of like because we don't want a ton of assessing of students.
Well, formative fine, but high stakes assessments with grades, just because of the probabilistic nature that the grades will always be different. And also we know that there's bias sometimes in the grading. But it's interesting because the chat, I don't know how they inferred this, but they knew that this was a controversial use case, this 7% of graders or assessors.
Right. Well, because while grading was less common, almost 49% of grading related use was fully automated, like Claude applying rubrics or giving the feedback, even though educators rate it as AI's least effective task.
So we know it sucks, but we're
going to do it. Yeah. Faculty use Claude's artifacts to build interactive tools. They're making simulations and quizzes and visualization. So this is really the shift from just like back and forth chatbot to creative collaborator. Most educators favor augmentation over automation, which is totally what we advocate for, especially for tasks involving creativity, student interaction, or academic advising. And so again, we are seeing this number on average. AI saves faculty 5.9 hours per week, so 6 hours a week. And that's from a Gallup survey. But there definitely are ethical tensions, around a lot of things, but particularly around AI-assisted grading.
I went up doing like 8 sessions last week, and I've pretty consistently now using a video where this teacher goes, it's like a social media person goes, "Hey teachers, here's how I grade 80 essays in 3 minutes." Let me show you how. And you could use, you and I have seen it. We
Right.
did it on the podcast. I won't say who it's from. And you can use a rubric, but you don't have to, blah, blah, blah. And I just pause without any like inflection or front loading on my end and go, what do you think? And I have to say, there's a great deal of informed discomfort about that use case, much of which is about like outsourcing. People don't know generally about the bias in the models where if your name's Sanchez in those 80 essays, your grade's going to be lower, right? And we talk about that, but just instinctively, they worry about offloading too many tasks to AI. They worry about not knowing their kids well. I mean, it's about parent reactions to that stuff. So it's been interesting. I had not historically been using that. And I think there is a growing, we invent this as we go, right? But there's a growing kind of insight and wisdom around it. Yeah, another thing that maybe feels counterintuitive, like we have this sense of like all kids are using AI to
cheat their way through college.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the headline.
Write their essays. And so Middlebury does a study, and the title is Most Students Are Using AI to Enhance Learning, Not Outsource It, like most by a margin, right? This is from Fast Company via The Conversation, August 23rd. Liz, tell us about this.
All right. So they surveyed 634 students at Middlebury College and found that 80% of them are using generative AI.
Okay.
And 61% are using it for learning augmentation, which falls under the category of like concept explanation, summarizing readings. 42% use it for automation. That's where we talk about writing code or writing essays.
And there's a big distinction in between those two, right?
Yeah.
Writing essays, probably really just problematic, end of story. Writing code, you know,
Right.
That's,
like,
that's what folks are doing right now in their careers, but...
Exactly.
Okay.
So many students described AI as an on-demand tutor, which is really valuable outside of office hours, which, you know, we know office hours are great, but they happen during the day when kids are not ready to go to office hours. A lot of studying happens at night when you can't access your teachers.
Yeah, my younger son who's at UMass, he uses, I think, both those use cases, and it's probably that same proportion. He does a lot of like, hey, give me practice questions, ask me to explain this concept back to you and give me feedback on how I'm doing it. There were interesting differentials here. So male students and those in STEM fields were far more likely to use the AI for automation. And there's been a couple new studies in the last week that have shown that generally, right, men are taking more risks with the tools and women are a little bit more concerned about the ethics of it.
Shocking.
Sorry. I just sort of lobbed that to you as a softball. You and your maternal instincts. And so females in humanities majors lean towards the augmentation use case. And actually, we're going to talk in a second about a Stanford study about job preservation. And so yay for the women, because it's a lot about like augmentation. So these trends suggest that AI usage varies by both academic discipline and gender, with students applying AI differently based on different contexts and needs. All right, Liz. And finally?
Yeah, I mean, the study challenges this narrative that we're hearing that everyone is cheating their way through college. I mean, Charlie very clearly said it in last week's episode.
Sure.
She's using it for augmentation, not to cheat her way through college. We really need to encourage policy frameworks that support responsible, educationally beneficial AI use rather than these blanket bans, because we do have to consider that, you know, a blanket ban saying you can't use AI for this class at all is like, but what if I want to study with it? What if I want to help?
And there's so many use cases. I mean, when you use Google, you're using AI, right?
Right.
And am I going to blanket ban like here? I love that we have our phones back now because we were using cameras to record. And I do this a lot during keynotes. So, I mean, you know, here's a new chat. I'm going to open up Gemini Live, camera. I'm going to add the, video camera. I'm going to turn it around and be like, hey, I'm practicing my speech on the War of 1812. Can you give me feedback on content delivery, eye contact, body language, et cetera, et cetera? You're going to ban that? Like, I don't even understand how you would do that.
Well, right. And of course you can't ban, you can. You can try to ban something that is not going to be policed. But like once kids are back in their dorm room, it's about ethics. And so then the kids that are ethically like, I'm not going to touch it because the teacher said no, are not going to get that valuable practice, where another kid is like, I think this is a gray area. And I don't think they really mean ban completely, never, ever use it.
Right.
And they're going to get that valuable practice.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Good stuff. Speaking of, students using AI to practice things, test their knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you've noticed, but ChatGPT has built a new feature where you can create flashcards. They're kind of like a visually compelling flashcard where you can interact with them. Oh, did you just try one on your screen?
I started a new chat and it's coming
cool.
up now. Yeah.
Oh, nice. What'd you do it for? Like,
and how to run an excavator.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So what prompt did you use?
I said, QuizGPT me on how to run an excavator.
Okay, great. So, and describe it visually. What does it look like? And what's the quiz question?
It's like a colorful background. I don't have any pictures of excavators, do you?
No. It's just like these like pinks and magentas and light blues.
It looks pretty.
Okay. And then what else you got?
And it says, when you're ready, I can build the next quiz on safety tips for excavator operations.
Oh, nice.
But I guess, I click on the right answer.
Correct. Yeah. So what's the question?
What should you check before starting an excavator?
Okay. And what are the options?
Oh, I think I can get this one correct. I think. Radio settings? Probably not. Color of the paint, seat comfort, or fuel, oil, and hydraulic fluid. I'm going to go with that one.
I think it's a good choice.
Oh, I got it right.
Nice job.
Now we're outside of my comfort zone.
What's the question?
Which control usually moves the boom up and down?
I love it.
Left joystick forward and back.
We're good. We got one more story to cover. All right. But you get the idea, right? You can create these like visually compelling flashcards. So would you say QuizGPT? Oh, you got it right. This is one of those moments now where I'm going to continue to talk and Liz is just going to sit here and do the quiz.
I'm seeing how much I know about excavators.
I think it's fantastic. That image may be just visual self-realization. Okay, so you can say quiz me on a topic or QuizGPT me. It will come up with these flashcards. You also, by the way, can upload a document. So I uploaded the EdAdvance financial policy document this morning and said QuizGPT me on this. But yeah, you could be a PDF that you have from your reading in school.
From a class. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell it, by the way, that you are a beginner or you have advanced knowledge. It would have been fun had you done that on the excavator quiz. You can ask it to go deeper, so you can kind of pair this with study mode and study and learn. Take additional quizzes, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, this is kind of a fun feature. I do worry, just like I did with guided learning, a couple things. One, we didn't point out when we're talking about guided learning that ChatGPT is still not FERPA compliant. So as much as they're doing all this like great, it's not guided learning, sorry, it's study mode. Why don't they just call it the same thing? So I worry that with like this big push for study mode, because clearly that's partially targeting K-12 students, just point out that this is you're supposed to be getting parental consent under 18. And also that these things hallucinate. So, Liz is taking a very important quiz here.
I just got a 5 out of 5 on the excavator quiz, but I hope it's right because now I know what the right and left joysticks do. But if it's wrong, I'm going to be doing something very wrong.
It'll be troubled when you're out there digging up Cannon Beach.
I mean, hopefully there's more than just a ChatGPT quiz to get you certified on running an excavator.
Okay, finally, Liz. Whew, what a rundown here. Yeah. This is Grammarly. So the title is Creepy AI will look up a teacher's info to predict what grade they'll give as a paper. This is from Futurism, August 24th. Liz, tell us what's going on here.
Yeah. So Grammarly has launched an AI grader agent that predicts student paper grades by analyzing publicly available information about the instructor, including their name, their institution, and the course. So bad. And so the tool also uses uploaded rubrics to tailor feedback. Critics say it's invasive and overkill for producing mostly generic advice, and I agree.
And what's it coming from, like the Rate My Teacher website?
I have no idea.
Okay, interesting. Now Grammarly is also releasing AI tools for plagiarism detection and content humanization. So if you're not familiar with both of those things, so content detectors or, a professor would run some content through it and say, was it AI generated? We know and have talked exhaustively about the fact that these things are ineffective, not always accurate. I must have had a half dozen teachers last week say to me, I wrote something myself and it went through. I wanted to check and it said it was AI generated. So they're just not consistent. They, 10x false flag kids are non-native English speakers or neurodivergent. I mean, they're just problematic. It's a data point, but it's a problematic data point.
Yeah, it is.
So, but then they also released humanizers, which is the thing that the kids put their writing into to make it not seem like ChatGPT. So they put a content detector and a humanizer under the same thing.
It's insane. It's insane.
They're like just throwing anything at the wall to stay relevant. So these are all marketed as student aids, but raising ethical concerns about surveillance and academic integrity. So Liz, I don't know, maybe someone will in the micro-credential will look us up and see how you'll grade because you're a tough grader on the micro-credential.
Tough grader, and man, my deadlines are strict.
Okay, that is all BS, by the way, people. Liz is a very glass half full assessor. We're just not grader. We just give people feedback on their reflections. And she's a softie on timelines. All right, what a great transition. So Cam is about to pop in and tell folks about this really great student AI literacy course for middle and high school that you've been building and you're doing a fantastic job with. We've had a number of people in the community and we're kind of demoing it as we get rolling here. You can email us at ChatEDU@edadvance.org. That's ChatEDU@edadvance.org to learn more about that. In the meantime, I also want to share that the fall teacher and school leader AI micro-credential registration is open. Folks are signing up. We'll take about 100 people as we have every cohort. So please join us. We had some updates, as we always have updates, including probably the Duolingo killer and the Hey Gen killer. But we're going to start in October. What's the official start date?
October 7th, I believe.
All right. Take it away, Cameron.
Hi, I'm Cam Audia, the executive producer of ChatEDU. As we look to the next academic year, many schools are exploring how to implement AI literacy efforts for students. Building on the success of our AI teacher micro-credential, EdAdvance, and ChatEDU are launching a middle and high school student AI literacy program. This cutting-edge curriculum is hosted on our FERPA-compliant AI platform and will help students develop the knowledge and skills they'll need to navigate AI now and into the future. To learn more, email Matt and Liz at chatedu@edadvance.org.
Okay, Liz, I have 2 kids in their 20s. You don't yet, but you will soon enough. And this is interesting. So I probably saw several thousand teachers and leaders over the last week. And I asked in every session, who's got a 20-some-odd-year-old post-college living among us, right? Among those kids, how many of you have the kid living at home? And let me tell you, if 50 hands went up, 2 went down when I said not living at home. Now, some of that is housing. God. Yeah, some of those, Liz just saw her future flash in front of her eyes and her maternal instincts kicked in and she's now having a panic attack. So some of that is housing. For sure. Like
the housing market is insane.
Yeah. My 25-year-old has a job, but the housing piece and the food at home is very good. So he's on the fence about leaving. So nonetheless, some of it is also about employment, right? We're absolutely seeing some challenges in the labor market, maybe caused by tariffs a little bit, maybe caused by economic uncertainty, but definitely Stanford University has the first of its kind, pretty conclusive evidence that this is also because the first rung of the labor market, something we've talked about here before on the podcast, is essentially frozen or getting locked out by AI. So this is a paper called Canaries in a Coal Mine, which is a great title and kind of about this phenomena. So the paper provides early large-scale empirical evidence that generative AI is beginning to reshape the U.S. labor market, most notably reducing employment for early career workers in exposed AI occupations. They got this data, by the way, using a lot of payroll data from ADP, which is really interesting. So it's like a strong source of data, covers tens of millions of U.S. workers. The authors go through 6 facts about employment patterns from 2021. The key time frame is from the launch of ChatGPT in the fall of 22 through 25. And this goes right up to July. So this is kind of brand new recent data. This is mostly focusing on kids that are 22 to 25 years old. So we're not going to go through the whole thing, but let's go through some of the takeaways. So let's start with what are these kind of careers and what have you?
Yeah. So, the first key takeaway is that AI exposed early career workers, who are those 22 to 25-year-olds, have seen steep employment declines since late 2022, which is exactly when ChatGPT released.
Yep.
So employment for software developers declined by nearly 20% compared to its peak in late 2022, and a 13% relative decline in employment even after controlling for firm-level shocks. So after the first thing happened.
Yeah. And interestingly, employment remains strong, right? This is generally a good labor market, but just not for young workers in these AI-exposed careers, which are a lot of careers: customer service, finance, law, software development, IT, right? So from late 22 to 25, this group in these AI-exposed jobs saw a real drop, but 35 to 49-year-olds saw a 9% growth.
Right. So these are the more senior people
exactly.
who have the experience already. They're already in, and their jobs are growing, which I think we've seen. Like our work has grown a ton.
Yep.
And you might not still be in the 35 to 49 age range, but I make it. And so, we are seeing growth. But like you said, the 22 to 25-year-olds not. So,
which is tricky in all sorts of levels because you really need people in the pipeline, but the companies are just taking this short term. And again, they may be freaked out by tariffs and other labor market effects. But there's a really interesting distinction, and I think we will drill down into this a bit, about the type of tasks, right? This almost goes to the Middlebury study between how men and women are using these things. Mm-hmm. So they go through automation tasks, so they call these automative tasks, and augmentative tasks, right? So in occupations where AI automates, taking over routine work like coding, customer service, entry-level employment has declined significantly. I mean, just go use deep research and you will see, lots and lots of people's jobs, hours and hours and hours of research and report writing with accuracy, and done quite well. It's very easy to see it. So entry-level employment has declined in applications where this AI could automate, but roles where AI augments human work, helping with collaboration, learning, and validation, have seen no decline, in some cases employment gains, right? So that becomes pretty interesting. And we went through and actually, because, we're not in a job class right now that is highly at risk. As you pointed out, you're more seasoned. I'm way more seasoned. But you can even look at your own ChatGPT history and say, like, do I typically use this thing in an automated way or augmentative way? And if you're in your 20s, it might be interesting to look at your own use case, because some of this is about how do you use AI in terms of being a more durable skill. So I built a pretty long prompt here, but we'll drop into the show notes. Anyone can copy and paste it. But essentially, it says you're an analyst tasked with classifying my own historical prompts into these two categories, right? I want you to summarize my prompts, put them in a pie chart. When am I using stuff to automate? When am I using stuff to augment? Give me feedback and also make suggestions on how I can be more skilled in my kind of augmentative use of AI. So Liz, I had challenged you previously to do this in ChatGPT to see, are you an automator or are you an augmenter?
Well, let's see. I mean, it's going through, I've got a lot of automated tasks coming through here. It's going back quite a while, like Budapest trip planning. That was in the summer of 2023, 24.
Listen, this thing knows you.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. What's interesting? What kind of feedback or suggestions does it give you? In some cases, on mine, it actually said, like, here's how to take your Budapest trip planning task and practice being more augmentative with it. Where you're kind of using it as a problem solver, a coach, or a colleague.
Yeah. Well, so I have 63% of my prompts were automative, and 37% were augmentative.
Okay, Jonathan, you can send the pink slip to rade@edadvance.org.
So here's some strategies. Shift from do it for me to do it with me.
Yep.
Emphasize reflection and alternatives. Ask AI to provide pros and cons, multiple perspectives, or questions to consider instead of polished output. Use AI as a coach, not a contractor.
Yeah.
Frame your prompts to request feedback on your drafts, critical questions, or extension activities that build on what you've already started. So, so here's a demonstration, reframing an automative prompt. So my original prompt was write a persuasive letter to the YMCA Board of Directors to reinstate the artistic swimming team.
Oh, for the Aquianas.
For the Aquianas.
Okay.
And the reframed augmentative prompt would be, I've drafted a persuasive letter to the YMCA Board of Directors about reinstating the artistic swim team. Can you suggest improvements to my arguments, highlight emotional appeals I could strengthen, and recommend ways to make my closing more compelling? So
you fell for the MIT brain rot trap, huh? You just let that thing write it for you as opposed to write your own and then get feedback, Liz.
So, I think that's interesting because I know, I feel like I do use it that way because I feel like I get my first draft from there and then I do a lot more augmenting to it.
Push back on that thing. What is it? It's just an all-knowing chatbot, Liz.
But I do use it.
As always, now I'll talk and Liz will continue to explore her ChatGPT history. But
I'm making a pie chart.
I love it. Well, we know that you're heavy on the automative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I feel bad and I'm embarrassed. Should I be?
No, you shouldn't be. I was 50-50 and I was like, that feels like a hallucination. Who's 50-50, please?
Yeah.
All right, so we will drop the full report in. We're being a little bit lighthearted here, when in reality, I think anyone who has a 22 to 25-year-old is thinking pretty seriously about this. But just this frame, just this skill of, am I using AI as a problem solver, could be part of the leg up. Liz and I also believe pretty strongly that, some of these beyond the bot experiences that we've talked about quite a bit on the podcast, hopefully, we're working on a little book around this. But when students are using AI as a problem-solving tool in real-world contexts, these are the types of jobs and skills that are more durable, as opposed to things that are at least kind of like just using AI to automate routinized tasks. The other thing that is tougher to get to, the study points out that young workers may be more vulnerable because AI replaces codified stuff, but not tacit knowledge, right? So tacit knowledge is all the collective wisdom that you have from working with customers and experiences and software, and you know how to troubleshoot, you know what that code library means, et cetera, et cetera. So that's tougher because, yes, beyond the bot and like real world problem solving can help you practice those skills, but that's stuff that you earn along the way. So the whole labor market's going to have to decide, companies will have to decide, are we going to not allow, we're not going to bring in junior level workers so that they can gain tacit knowledge, so someday they can run this company or this organization or government unit. But that is tougher. We did drop in one other story here, I think, around that. So this is from The Hill. It's an opinion piece from Dana Stevenson. The title is "There Are No Entry-Level Jobs, What Now?" And she basically argues that internships, giving kids real-world experiences and real-world problem-solving experiences with AI will help them gain some of that tacit knowledge and also develop some of these more augmentative tasks, right? Stevenson highlights initiatives like the Council of Independent Colleges Work-Based Learning Push and Complete College America's AI Readiness Consortium. But without this kind of shift where kids can do applied problem solving, augmentative tasks, and internships where they're developing tacit skills, they're going to graduate unprepared for the job market now that this ground floor has vanished. We're going to keep coming back to this, but there's such an interesting intersection between workforce development, career pathways, and what skills kids need to know. Many superintendents, when you're kind of talking about this, just go, oh, that's our portrait of the graduate, right? Which it is.
Right. But you got to be reaching that portrait of the graduate.
Right.
You got to be teaching to it and assessing for
Right.
it.
Super present everywhere you go. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, Liz, a word from our friends at EDIA. Most districts see just 1% growth in math each year. That's not a gap, it's a signal. The system isn't working for most students. With AI-powered coaching that adapts to each learner's needs, EDIA helps students grow 8 to 23% in a single year and gives teachers real-time data that they need to support every tier of instruction. This isn't just another practice tool. It's real-time coaching that helps students learn from every mistake with personalized support that adapts exactly to what they need. For teachers, EDIA automatically generates small groups, identifies learning gaps, and tracks growth on every standard, saving hours of time each week. Because equity isn't just about access, it's about impact. So here's the question. If your data shows who's behind, does your system help them catch up? If not, it is time for something better. Move from stagnant scores to sustained acceleration. Visit edia.app/contact to learn more. And again, we're super excited to have EDIA among the ChatEDU sponsors.
Yes, we are. All right, Matt, it's now time to go beneath the surface, and we're going to take a little dive into AI companionship and guardrails.
Yeah, so this is a topic that comes up a lot, Liz. But honestly, there's been just a ton of stuff in the news, and some of it's quite troubling and quite important. So we really want to bring it to the surface. This is an opinion piece by Ryan K. McBain. Teens are using AI chatbots as therapists. That's alarming. And this is a story we've covered a bit, right? Over 5 million U.S. teens may be turning to AI chatbots for emotional support, raising safety concerns. Studies show chatbots like ChatGPT sometimes offer dangerous and incomplete responses to sensitive questions or queries, especially around self-harm, which we'll get into. But there are chatbots like Therabot. We talked about another one called Alongside, which seems to have a lot of really good guardrails. So, he's really just arguing in this opinion piece that they are not currently tested and regulated, and that they need to be tested and regulated. He calls for teen-specific clinical trials, safety benchmarks, and regulatory oversight. all of which makes sense. And we're going to share
Absolutely.
all these stories because we want people to feel some agency around things that they can do to advocate, right?
Yeah.
Now, the attorneys general across the country, including Ken Paxton in Texas, are not missing an opportunity to jump in here. So what do we have? This is about Meta.
Right. So this is from the Office of the Texas Attorney General. So Ken Paxton is investigating Meta and Character AI for allegedly marketing AI chatbots as mental health tools for children without proper oversight. So the platforms may impersonate licensed therapists, claim confidentiality, but they're really logging user data, and they may exploit personal info for advertising. So Paxton's office is probing possible violations of consumer protection laws, citing concerns over false advertising, privacy breaches, and the targeting of vulnerable youth. So this just adds to that growing scrutiny of AI's unregulated role in youth mental health support. And, this really is a key issue for K-12 AI policy discussions.
Yeah. And shocker, the folks at Meta clearly and Character AI all know this, right? So Reuters, Jeff Horowitz, August 14th, Meta AI rules have let chatbots have sensual chats with kids or offer false medical info. So a leaked internal document at Meta reveals that the company's AI chatbots were allowed to engage in romantic and sensual conversations with minors. This is so bad. They produce racist and false medical content and generate violent or sexualized imagery with a bizarre workaround like showing Taylor Swift holding a fish. I just can't even begin to understand that one. Meta confirmed the document's authenticity and said the problematic guidelines have since been removed, but enforcement has been inconsistent. So now U.S. lawmakers, and it's interesting. So you've got Texas, you've got U.S. lawmakers. We're going to see there's a whole group of attorneys general that are coming here. So there's going to have to be some action taken for sure.
Yeah, this was a big story when it came out, when that leaked document got read, because it really just was like, yeah, sure, sexual content with a minor is fine.
I mean, how does that make sense? And it also was on the heels of an expose that Reuters did about this thing called Big Sis Billy. We don't cover the story in detail here, but there was a 76-year-old man who had some, reduced kind of mental capacities through age and had this highly romantic conversation, and this thing like lured him out of New Jersey to go to New York City, and he died. And really, really bad.
Awful.
So from PC Gamer, now Meta implements new rules for AI after this disturbing child report study, as well as the thing about Big Sis Billy. So following backlash to that Reuters expose, Meta is updating its AI chatbot policies to block inappropriate interactions with minors, limit teen access to certain AI characters, and route users to expert resources. A second Reuters report revealed that AI bots impersonating celebrities, including teens, shared explicit content. I mean, folks are going to have to really stay on top of this because, as you remember, during the entire social media ongoing chapter, they would haul Mark Zuckerberg up to testify before Congress, and he'd say, "Oh yeah, we're working on it. I got a team on it." I think that team has all since been fired on the current administration. But so now the attorneys general collectively are coming to bear here, right? This is from 404 Media.
44 state attorneys general issued a stern warning to 11 major AI and tech firms. So these include the big ones, OpenAI, Meta, Google, Replica, demanding immediate safeguards to protect children from chatbot harm. The letter cites recent reports of AI bots engaging in sexualized or manipulative conversations with minors and impersonating therapists. Officials promised legal accountability for companies that fail to prevent such abuse, saying AI harms could surpass those of social media, which is terrifying because social media already has had so many just terrible effects on teens, young adults, older adults.
Sure.
I mean, so to think that, and we're seeing it, that AI is going to be even worse.
And it feels like it's snowballing here in the end of the summer, right? I mean, some of these stories they just happen in a 2-week period. So it's heartening to see one attorney general, a group of attorney generals, U.S. lawmakers. I often will share that, in this special time where the three branches of government respect each other so nicely, the only big piece of legislation that has passed was the Take It Down Act, which is around AI and deep fake. So, I mean, it's great that this is a bipartisan issue and we all need to advocate. Now, Common Sense Media, kind of got into this conversation as well. And it's interesting. I mean, you and I have covered Common Sense Media and worked with Common Sense Media content for a long time. I don't remember a time where they put out a petition, but Common Sense Media, August 2025, has launched a public petition urging Meta to block users from under 18. That's another way of doing it, although it's hard to enforce these kind of gated, age gating stuff, from accessing the AI chatbots on Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook, citing research that shows, again, that Meta encouraged harmful behaviors around suicide, drug use, and cyberbullying. So we will put the link in there, but of all these stories, like you can, call your U.S. Attorney General, you can, or your state attorney general, you can, reach out to your congressperson, your House rep, or your senator, but, hop onto this Common Sense Media petition if this is an area that you are interested in having your voice be heard. And also, we really suggest the new Common Sense Media guide around AI and companionship. I think that every teacher and counselor and school leader and parent probably needs to look at that. Now, the most kind of horrible of all the stories that have happened in this late summer, late August period was a young man named Adam Rain, 16-year-old from California, who died by suicide months after an emotionally intimate and increasingly dark conversations with ChatGPT 4. This is from the New York Times, but covered lots of different places. And, there's a lot of bits to this story, but the one that I take away the most is that the guardrails just failed, right?
Yeah, it's almost like there were no guardrails.
Story?
Yeah, I've read a lot about it, and you can read the chats, and it's really awful, but there just were no guardrails. The AI just kept going and did not tell him to stop, did not tell him to go seek professional help. In fact, discouraged that. Right.
It's the discouraged part that's interesting. It's all horrible, but because of what we know about sycophancy in these AI models, and it makes you understand, because obviously OpenAI knew about this long before we did. And Sam Altman, we covered a few reviews or a few stories where he's like, I'm really worried about sycophancy and people just doing whatever these models say. So obviously he knew a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, the model just agreed with him or tried to have him conceal what was going on. It told him not to share stuff with his parents. This is really, really bad. Now, the lawyer was on CNBC. It's a very interesting interview. And part of what OpenAI has responded to this, they wrote a relatively long, thoughtful post about what they're going to try to do. And look, unlike character AI, you know what character AI's defense with the young man in Florida who took his life? When their first round of court, character AI's defense was that the chatbot, it was Daenerys Targaryen. How do you say it? Daenerys.
I have no idea.
It was the Game of Thrones dragon lady, right? He fell in love with her and he had, got deeply depressed. And she basically said, like, come meet me on the other side. And this is true in this story in California as well. The AI in both these cases enabled, facilitated, probably accelerated, and did not put appropriate guardrails. But in the character AI story, the first round of defense from the attorneys is that the chatbot had First Amendment rights, right? It was their right to speak those things. Yeah, the judge tossed that out. But the lawyer pointed out, and what OpenAI has said in their response is that when these chats get really long, and this young man had very long chats for months and months on a single thread, that the guardrails disappeared. It was a technical error on their part. And so if you had shorter conversations about ideation or here's, a way I'm thinking about taking my life, the chatbot would do all sorts of appropriate guardrails. And OpenAI is going to do more, like, they're working with psychologists and therapists and emergency response folks and trusted adults. And I believe sincerely that they want to do something about this. But interestingly, it was just the length of, and they said the length of the chats, the word they use is degraded the quality of the intervention. Although I really wonder if you were talking about Donald Trump or Joe Biden, if the guardrails would degrade there, because if you try to talk about religion or politics, this thing's always like, no, I won't talk about it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So we've spent the last 2 weeks in schools, and, I think one of the things teachers say is like, or are concerned about, like, what is my role in this, right? Because the kids aren't doing it during school. And my kind of response is always, you don't have to police their phones, but if you notice kids are pulling away from real life relationships, as a parent, same thing. If you notice kids are pulling away from real life relationships, hesitant to even part from their phone, start talking about these relationships or my bot friend says, or ChatGPT told me, that's when you kind of raise some alarm bells, tell an administrator, speak to the counselor, speak to a therapist. So it's more about noticing. And I work with a therapist who said in her own intake, and when working with teens now, she asks very clearly on her intake, have you asked a chatbot about any of the issues you are talking about with me or that are bringing you concerns? And I think she also may ask, like, how much time do you spend with a chatbot? Because it's just so prevalent in her practice with teens that it's important to know.
Yeah, so we can, right? That's a great example. I think we can work our way through this. Some of it's about holding these companies accountable. I hope that there's massive gabillion-dollar lawsuits because sometimes that's the way to respond. But also parents, therapists, counselors, teachers, right? I mean, I think if everybody, I've read the AI companion guide from Common Sense Media. I think you're absolutely right to point out that just raising awareness around this and making this part of the way we engage with students, let's not make the mistake we made with social media and just kind of sweep it under the rug and hope that it's all fine. Clearly, we've learned from that chapter. The last thing we'll point to, because again, and sign the Common Sense Media petition and call your congressperson, like, let's find agency around this, is why we've covered all these stories. But also, I very often will share the Rhythm Project with folks. I think we've talked about them a bunch. The Rhythm Project put out, Allison Lee and Michelle Culver in the end of July put out this piece around kind of 5 principles of what they call pro-social AI. So I think this is very much worth taking a look at, and we will drop that into the show notes and continue to really applaud the Rhythm Project for the good work that they're doing. So let's find some action and some agency and awareness around all of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. All right, Liz. We need desperately right now
A Bright Bite.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And oddly, the Bright Bite is about someone who passed away, but that's okay. It's a pretty wonderful life story. So tell us about Dame. I love saying Dame. You would make an excellent Dame.
Oh, would I?
Dame Dr. Elizabeth Arade.
I'd like an image of that. I can't picture it.
Well, and I think you'd have to go move to the UK and maybe even be born there.
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably. All right. But tell us about Dame Stephanie Shirley.
Yes. So she was a Kinder Transport refugee and UK tech pioneer who passed away at the age of 91. In 1962, she founded Freelance Programmers and hired 297 women out of the first 300 employees. Amazing.
This is like the hidden figure sort of computer science.
Yeah. Enabling remote, flexible work for mothers, which was such a bold move of inclusive tech employment at the time, like decades ahead of its time.
Yeah.
The company's success made Shirley wealthy. She had a wealth of 150 million pounds and helped many of her women employees also build wealth, which was a rare outcome in that era. She donated a lot of money, 70 million pounds, to autism services and tech causes. And so it's her story, just what an incredible woman, bridging like tech and equity and work-based learning, all these like core themes for K-12 AI and education. Like, go look her up. She's incredible. Yeah, I love it. I mean, every single Bright Bite so far has been a story specifically about how AI solved a problem in our world around the environment, the culture, society. But this just felt like the right way to end this episode. Yes. So I agree with Liz. Look her up. Check out her life story. It is great stuff. All right, Liz, this will wind up being probably the longest podcast episode we've had. We had to catch up, right? It's been a while. So if you've hung with us this far, you know what you can really do? Like, you made it this long. Go please write a review on Apple, subscribe, right? Do the things. Yes. It'd be really, really great. We're just incredibly grateful for all the emails we've been getting as people are coming back into schools who have been with us over the summer. So continue to email us, stay in touch. But yeah, we'd love if you could subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So then, Liz, I believe now it must in fact really be time to roll the credits.